Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Imagine finding a Washington quarter in an old coin jar, a family collection, a forgotten drawer, or even among ordinary pocket change. This coin is very important. At first, this might seem unusual, especially to someone who knows that many Washington quarters have letters such as D, P, or S identifying where they were produced. Coin number 1. 1984 Washington quarter with a tiny D mint mark. At first glance, it may look like an ordinary quarter that has been sitting quietly among other coins for decades. But what if that seemingly common 1984 with D Washington quarter has characteristics that make it dramatically more interesting to collectors? In today's video, we are taking a detailed look at the USA Washington quarter dated 1984 with the D mint mark, especially a coin described as being in very fine condition and associated with a claimed market value of as much as $167. Before getting too excited, however, it is important to understand that an extraordinary value depends on authentication, grading, rarity, errors, provenance, and actual market demand. A normal 1984D quarter should not automatically be considered a $167,000 coin simply because it carries the same date and mint mark. The purpose of this video is to explain what you should look for and why some apparently ordinary coins can become extremely interesting to collectors. The 1984 Washington quarter belongs to a fascinating period in American coinage. The Washington quarter had already been circulating for more than 4 decades, by 1984 having first appeared in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. By the 1980s, the quarter had become one of the most familiar denominations in everyday American commerce. Millions of quarters were being produced and distributed, and most examples were intended for circulation rather than long-term preservation. That makes the surviving condition of individual coins particularly important today. A coin that spent years moving through pockets, cash registers, vending machines, banks, and coin drawers could easily accumulate scratches, contact marks, discoloration, and wear. Finding an example with unusually strong surfaces, sharp details, attractive toning, or an important minting error can therefore make the discovery much more exciting. The D on the 1984 Washington quarter is especially important because it identifies the Denver Mint as the production facility. Mint marks are among the first details collectors examine when identifying a United States coin. On a Washington quarter from this period, the mint mark appears on the obverse side near the lower right area, close to the base of Washington's neck. If you have a 1984 quarter, carefully inspect this area with good lighting and preferably magnification. The mark should be evaluated carefully because damage, dirt, polishing, or unusual surface conditions can make small details difficult to interpret. A genuine mint mark is part of the coin's original design and production, while scratches or marks that merely resemble a letter should not be mistaken for a mint mark. Now let us talk about the condition described in this video. Very fine. In coin collecting, condition is one of the most important factors affecting desirability and value. A very fine coin has experienced noticeable circulation, but still retains a substantial amount of its original design detail. On a Washington quarter, you would expect to see wear on the highest points of Washington's portrait and on the reverse design. Some details may be softened, but the overall design should remain clear. The lettering, date, portrait, eagle, wreath, and other major elements should still be recognizable. However, collectors must remember that grading is not simply a matter of looking at the coin for a few seconds and deciding that it is very fine. Professional grading considers the amount and location of wear, surface preservation, strike quality, marks, scratches, cleaning, color, luster, and other characteristics. If you have a 1984 with D Washington quarter, start with the basics. First, confirm the date. Make sure the final 2 digits are clearly 84 and not another nearby date that has been damaged or misread. Next, locate the D mint mark. After confirming the date and mint mark, examine the coin's overall condition. Look at Washington's hair, cheek, jawline, and neck. These areas can show evidence of circulation wear. Then turn the coin over and examine the reverse. Look closely at the eagle and surrounding lettering. Pay attention to the rims and the edges as well. A coin can sometimes reveal unusual characteristics around the edge that are difficult to notice when looking only at the obverse and reverse. Lighting is another important part of coin examination. Never rely on a single bright reflection from a phone flashlight. Rotate the coin slowly under diffuse light and examine how the surfaces respond. This can reveal scratches, cleaning, contact marks, discoloration, or unusual raised features. Collectors often use magnification to examine small areas of interest, but magnification should be used to identify details rather than to create artificial excitement. A microscopic scratch is not automatically a valuable error. Likewise, a strange-looking mark may simply be damage that happened after the coin left the mint. One of the most exciting possibilities is a genuine minting error. Errors occur during the coin production process and can sometimes be highly collectible. Depending on the type and severity, an error can significantly increase interest in an otherwise ordinary coin. Examples of recognized error categories include off-center strikes, broad strikes, clipped planchets, wrong planchets, double designs, die-related abnormalities, and other documented production mistakes. But there is an important warning here. Many things that appear to be errors are actually post-mint damage. A coin that was struck by machinery, scraped against another object, chemically altered, or intentionally modified can develop strange-looking features without becoming a valuable mint error. This is why authentication matters so much. If your 1984 with D quarter appears to have an unusual feature, do not immediately clean it, polish it, scratch it, or attempt to improve its appearance. Cleaning can permanently damage a coin's surfaces and may reduce its desirability to collectors. Instead, preserve this coin exactly as you found it and document the unusual feature with clear photographs. Photograph both sides, the edge, the date, the mint mark, and the suspected error. If the coin appears genuinely unusual, consider having it examined by a reputable numismatist or professional grading and authentication service. Another factor to consider is surface condition. A very fine coin normally shows circulation wear, and that wear can influence its market value. However, a coin can sometimes be valuable because of a combination of characteristics rather than because of condition alone. For example, a scarce variety in very fine condition may attract collectors who are specifically assembling a specialized collection. Similarly, a dramatic and authenticated mint error can make a circulated coin much more interesting. The important point is that value is not determined by age alone. Collectors care about rarity, demand, authenticity, condition, variety, error status, and the history behind the piece. The 1984 with D Washington quarter is particularly interesting for people who enjoy searching everyday change because coins from this era are still encountered outside traditional collections. Some may be found in old jars, inherited boxes, estate collections, or accumulations of coins saved by previous generations. A coin that has been sitting untouched for decades may still show circulation wear, but it may also preserve characteristics that make it worthy of closer inspection. The excitement comes from the possibility of finding something unusual rather than assuming that every 198 with D quarter is rare. Next coin, number 2. This 1966 Washington quarter with no mint mark, described here as being in green condition, and we will discuss the claimed market value of $199,000 while also explaining what collectors should realistically look for when examining one of these coins. Before we go any further, there is one extremely important fact every collector should know. A 1966 Washington quarter is supposed to have no mint mark. From 1965 through 1967 US, circulating coins were intentionally produced without mint marks as part of a policy designed to discourage collecting and hoarding during a nationwide coin shortage. Sources including Graysheet and other numismatic references confirm that 1966 circulating Washington quarters were made without mint marks. So if you have a 1966 quarter with no visible mint mark, that does not automatically make it a rare error. In fact, the lack of a mint mark is one of the normal identifying characteristics of the coin. This makes the 1966 Washington quarter particularly interesting because many people may initially think that a missing mint mark means something went wrong at the mint. In this case, it did not. The blank area where collectors might expect a mint letter was intentional. The absence of a mint mark was part of the coinage policy of the era. That means the phrase 1966 no mint mark should not automatically be interpreted as 1966 mint mark error. Instead, collectors need to investigate other characteristics such as condition, strike quality, varieties, errors, and whether the coin is a regular circulation strike or a special mint set piece. The 1966 Washington quarter was produced during a major change in American coinage. The United States had been producing Washington quarters in 90% silver through 1964. Beginning in 1965, circulating quarters changed to copper-nickel clad composition. The U.S. Mint explains that the quarter's composition changed from silver to copper-nickel clad in 1965. Therefore, a regular 1966 Washington quarter is not a traditional 90% silver quarter. Instead, it belongs to the early clad era that would eventually become the standard composition for circulating quarters. The composition of a regular 1966 Washington quarter is important when determining its identity. Numismatic references list the coin as copper-nickel clad, with a copper core and copper-nickel outer layers. Graysheet lists the standard specifications at approximately 5.67 grams and 24.3 millimeters in diameter. When you examine the edge of the coin, you can often see the copper-colored core between the outer layers. This is one of the easiest ways to distinguish the early clad quarter from the older silver issues. Now let's talk about the condition described in our video as green condition. Green condition is not a standard professional U.S. coin grading designation in the way that very fine, extremely fine, about uncirculated or mint state are. If a coin is described as green because of its coloration, the color alone does not establish its grade or value. Green coloration can result from environmental exposure, chemical reactions, storage conditions, contamination, and/or other factors. In some situations, unusual green material on a copper-containing coin can even indicate corrosion or residue rather than desirable natural toning. Therefore, collectors should never assume that a green appearance automatically makes a 1966 quarter rare or valuable. When examining a 1966 quarter, start by confirming the date. A damaged or worn coin can sometimes make a digit difficult to read, so use adequate lighting and magnification. Once you confirm the date, examine the area near Washington's neck, where a mint mark would appear on many later Washington quarters. On a 1966 quarter, the absence of a letter is expected. Do not mistake that blank area for an error. Next, inspect Washington's portrait. Look at the hair, cheek, jawline, neck, and other high points. These areas can help you understand how much circulation wear the coin has experienced. If the details are smooth and heavily worn, the coin has likely circulated extensively. If the details remain unusually sharp and the surfaces retain strong original characteristics, the coin may be more interesting from a condition perspective. Now turn the coin over and examine the reverse. The reverse of the classic Washington quarter features an eagle standing on a bundle of arrows with olive branches beneath. The inscriptions United States of America, E pluribus unum, and quarter dollar surround the design. The reverse is an excellent place to search for unusual characteristics because errors and varieties can sometimes affect lettering, design elements, or the relationship between the die and plancher. One of the most important things to remember is that not every unusual-looking feature is a mint error. A scratch across the eagle is not automatically an error. A flattened letter is not automatically a double die. A strange-looking rim is not automatically a broad strike. A discolored surface is not automatically rare toning. Coin collecting requires careful comparison with known examples. If you believe your 1966 quarter has a doubled design, compare the feature with documented double die characteristics. True double dies originate during the die-making process and can produce specific forms of doubling on portions of the design. Machine doubling and post-mint damage can create completely different appearances. This is why taking a photograph and asking for professional identification can be much more useful than relying solely on a general online description. The edge of a 1966 quarter is particularly useful. Regular clad quarters should show the characteristic copper core between the outer copper-nickel layers. If you find a 1966 quarter that appears to have a solid silver-colored edge without the expected copper stripe, that could be a reason to investigate further. But even then, the coin should be professionally tested and authenticated. Counterfeits and altered coins exist, and visual inspection alone is not always enough. The early clad era was a fascinating time in US coin production. The mint had to transition from traditional silver circulating coinage to the new clad system while maintaining the familiar size and appearance of American coins. The 1966 quarter therefore represents an important chapter in US monetary history. It may not be rare simply because it is old, but it is historically significant because it belongs to the first years of the clad Washington quarter era. This is why condition rarity becomes important. Millions of coins may have been produced, but fewer may survive in truly exceptional condition. A coin that spent decades circulating can become worn, scratched, stained, or damaged. Meanwhile, a coin that was carefully preserved from the moment it was produced may retain much stronger surfaces. The highest grade examples can therefore attract collectors even when the date itself is common. Special mint set pieces are another area collectors may encounter. The 1966 era included special mint sets rather than conventional proof production for collectors. Some 1966 SMS quarters can have distinctive surfaces and stronger strike characteristics compared with ordinary circulation coins. Collector references distinguish between regular business strikes and special mint set examples. Therefore, if you have a 1966 quarter that appears unusually sharp and polished compared with ordinary circulated examples, it may deserve additional investigation. This brings us to one of the biggest warnings for every coin hunter: never clean a potentially valuable coin. Do not use toothpaste, vinegar, baking soda, metal polish, jewelry cleaner, soap, abrasive cloths, or other household products. Cleaning can permanently change the original surface. If the coin has a valuable variety or error, cleaning may reduce its desirability and could make professional grading more complicated. If you find green coloration on your 1966 quarter, this warning becomes even more important. Do not attempt to remove the green color yourself. Instead, determine what caused it. The green appearance might be environmental residue, contamination, chemical alteration, or another surface condition. A professional can help determine whether the appearance is natural, artificial, or damaging to the coin. Next, coin number 3. This 1978 with the D mint mark, especially an example described as being in very fine condition and associated with a claimed market value of $175, zeroth. But before you start imagining a six-figure payday, there is an important lesson to understand. A normal 1978 with D Washington quarter is not automatically worth $175, zeroth. The exact condition, rarity, variety, minting errors, authentication, and actual market evidence are what determine whether a particular coin deserves extraordinary attention. The 1978 with D Washington quarter is part of the copper-nickel clad era of the Washington quarter series. By 1978, the United States had already moved away from the traditional silver composition used on quarters. Through 1964, the 1978 with D quarter was struck at the Denver Mint and has the familiar Washington design that millions of Americans knew from everyday commerce. PCGS identifies the 1978 with D as a regular strike Washington quarter with a diameter of 24.30 millimeters, a weight of 5.67 grams, and a composition of copper-nickel over a copper center. PCGS also records a mintage of 273,152 for the 1978 with D issue. That large mintage is one of the first facts we need to understand. When more than 287 million examples are produced, the ordinary coin is not rare simply because of its date and mint mark. In other words, finding a 1978 with D quarter does not automatically mean you have discovered a rare coin. The real question is whether your particular example has something that separates it from the enormous number of ordinary 1,978 with D quarters that were produced. The D mint mark is important because it tells us that the coin was struck at the Denver Mint. On a Washington quarter from this era, the mint mark can be found on the obverse near the lower right portion of Washington's neck. When examining your own coin, use good lighting and, if possible, magnification to confirm that the letter is actually a genuine D mint mark. Do not confuse scratches, dents, or marks on the surface with mint mark characteristics. A genuine mint mark is part of the coin's design and was placed during the production process. The 1,978 with D quarter is particularly interesting because it is now several decades old. Many examples have spent years in circulation, passing through banks, stores, vending machines, pockets, cash registers, and coin drawers. During that journey, a quarter can accumulate scratches, contact marks, dents, discoloration, and wear. Some examples were saved by collectors, while others remained in circulation for years. This creates a wide range of conditions among surviving 1,978 with D quarters. Now let's talk about the condition specified for today's video, very fine. In professional numismatics, very fine is a recognized circulated grade category. A very fine coin has experienced noticeable circulation wear, but still retains substantial design detail. On a Washington quarter, you would expect to see some softening on the highest points of Washington's portrait, particularly areas such as the hair and facial features. On the reverse, the eagle and other high points may show wear as well. The coin should still retain clear lettering and major design elements. This is an important lesson for every coin collector. Never assume that a huge number written in a title automatically represents a completed auction sale. An asking price is not the same as a realized price. A speculative estimate is not the same as a professional valuation. And a price attached to a rare error does not automatically apply to an ordinary coin from the same year and mint. If your 1,978 with D quarter has unusual toning, be careful. Natural toning can occur over time, but artificial coloring can also be created intentionally. Unusual colors alone should not be used to justify a six-figure valuation. The underlying coin must first be authentic, and the color must be understood in context. This is particularly important if you find a quarter described online as rare because it is blue, rare because it is green, or rare because it is black. Color can make a coin visually interesting, but rarity is determined by factors such as production, survival, variety, error status, condition, and demand. A strange color may be a clue, but it is not proof of extraordinary value. The same principle applies to scratches and marks. A large scratch across the coin does not make it rare. A dent does not automatically indicate a mint error. A damaged rim does not automatically mean the coin was struck incorrectly. Post-mint damage is extremely common, and experienced collectors learn to distinguish it from genuine production errors. If you are searching through a large collection of 1,978 with D quarters, compare them side by side. Look for differences in strike, surfaces, lettering, and design. Sometimes, comparing several examples makes an unusual characteristic easier to identify. But remember that normal die wear and production variation can also cause small differences. The most important thing is to remain patient. Don't rush. Coin collecting rewards careful observation. A quarter that looks ordinary at first may become interesting after closer inspection, while a coin that looks spectacular in a photograph may turn out to be damaged or altered. If you enjoyed this detailed journey into the 1,978 with D Washington quarter, make sure to subscribe to the channel for more American coin discoveries, Washington quarter values, rare coin investigations, mint error stories, and collecting tips. Keep checking your old change, coin jars, inherited collections, and forgotten boxes. The next interesting discovery could be hiding in an ordinary-looking quarter. Most importantly, keep learning. The real power of a collector is not simply finding an old coin. It is knowing exactly what that coin is, understanding why it might be important, and knowing how to verify its value. The 1,978 with D Washington quarter is a perfect reminder that rarity comes from specific characteristics, not simply from age or a dramatic number attached to a headline.